Preface of Celtic Fairy Tales. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Celtic Fairy Tales, selected and edited by Joseph Jacobs. Preface. Last year, in giving the young ones a volume of English fairy tales, my difficulty was one of collection. This time, in offering them specimens of the rich folk fancy of the Celts of these islands, my trouble has rather been one of selection. Ireland began to collect her folk tales almost as early as any country in Europe, and Croker has found a whole school of successors in Carleton, Griffin, Kennedy, Curtin, and Douglas Hyde. Scotland had the great name of Campbell, and has still efficient followers in MacDougall, MacInnes, Carmichael, MacLeod, and Campbell of Tiree. Gallant little Wales has no name to rank alongside these. In this department the Cymry have shown less vigour than the Gaedhil. Perhaps the Eisteddfod, by offering prizes for the collection of Welsh folk tales, may remove this inferiority. Meanwhile, Wales must be content to be somewhat scantily represented among the fairy tales of the Celts, while the extinct Cornish tongue has only contributed one tale. In making my selection I have chiefly tried to make the stories characteristic. It would have been easy, especially from Kennedy, to have made up a volume entirely filled with Grimm's goblins à la Celtique. But one can have too much even of that very good thing, and I have therefore avoided, as far as possible, the more familiar formulae of folk tale literature. To do this I had to withdraw from the English-speaking Pale both in Scotland and Ireland, and I laid down the rule to include only tales that have been taken down from Celtic peasants ignorant of English. Having laid down the rule, I immediately proceeded to break it. The success of a fairy book, I am convinced, depends on the due mixture of the comic and the romantic. Grimm and Asbjornsen knew this secret, and they alone. But the Celtic peasant who speaks Gaelic takes the pleasure of telling tales somewhat sadly. So far as he has been printed and translated, I found him, to my surprise, conspicuously lacking in humour. For the comic relief of this volume I have therefore had to turn mainly to the Irish peasant of the Pale, and what richer source could I draw from? For the more romantic tales I have depended on the Gaelic, and as I know about as much of Gaelic as an Irish Nationalist MP, I have had to depend on translators. But I have felt myself more at liberty than the translators themselves, who have generally been over-literal, in changing, exercising, or modifying the original. I have even gone further. In order that the tales should be characteristically Celtic, I have paid more attention to tales that are to be found on both sides of the North Channel. In retelling them I have had no scruple in interpolating now and then.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?